Welcome to the World's Greatest Celebrities podcast. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the world of Abbott and Costello, one of the most popular comedy duos of the 1940s and 50s. We've compiled a whole bunch of information about their work, about their journey really across burlesque, radio, film, and television. To understand, what made them such a hit and why their comedy continues to resonate with audiences today. So our mission today is to really unpack their journey, explore, their key achievements and understand their enduring impact on comedy.
Yeah.
So where does this story begin for Bud Abbott and Lou Costello?
Well, it's kind of a fascinating story. Their official pairing actually came about kind of by chance in 1935 at the Elton's Burlesque Theater in New York City.
Okay.
And the story goes that Lou Costello's usual partner fell ill, and Bud Abbott stepped in. It wasn't a long-term plan.
Well,
It was just a temporary fix.
Yeah. Well, what a lucky break for comedy history. That turned out to be. But it wasn't just that one performance that sealed the deal. There were others who saw something special in their dynamic.
Yeah, absolutely. You had other performers, even Abbott's wife, Betty, recognize this kind of unique chemistry between them and really encourage them to, pursue it as an actual partnership. And it's interesting to consider, those early days in burlesque, how that really shaped their act, because it's a very direct, audience-driven environment.
Yeah.
You're testing material.
You get immediate feedback.
You're really honing your timing.
It's like comedic boot camp.
Yeah, it really is.
Just thrown out there.
Yeah.
You sink or swim.
Yeah.
And of course, that dynamic, Abbott is the straight man, Costello is the Costello. That became so iconic.
Yeah.
But what was it about that contrast that worked so well?
I think that, the straight man, funny man dynamic is classic for a reason.
Right.
And they really perfected it. Abbott's serious, almost exasperated demeanor provided the perfect foil for Costello's almost childlike energy and his physical comedy. The frustration that Abbott displayed just amplified the absurdity of Costello's antics, and they played off of each other brilliantly. And thinking about their burlesque roots, it's almost poetic that years later, when the Elton's Theater was actually being moved, there were these giant balloons of Abbott and Costello that appeared to be pulling it. It was a real testament to their beginnings there.
That's a great image. From those live stage shows, they transitioned to a completely different medium, radio. Their first known broadcast was in 1938 on the Kate Smith Hour. That must have been a significant leap.
It was. It was a crucial step in reaching a much broader audience, one that wasn't confined to a theater. Yeah. But it also presented a new challenge. How do you translate physical comedy to an audio-only format?
That's a great point, because I remember reading that initially listeners had trouble telling their voices apart.
That's right. So to create that distinction for the radio audience, Costello really leaned into that higher-pitched, almost whiny voice that became so instantly recognizable. Yeah. It was a really smart way to differentiate their characters orally, just through sound.
And it was on that very show, the Kate Smith Hour, that Who's On First made its national debut in March of 1938. Did they have any idea at that time that they had lightning in a bottle with that routine?
It's hard to say if they knew that it would become the defining routine, but it clearly was a hit with audiences right from the start. And they were regulars on the Kate Smith Hour for 2 years, which gave them incredible national exposure. But at the same time, they were also making their mark on Broadway in the streets of Paris in 1939. So they were really hitting on all cylinders across different entertainment platforms.
It's amazing how they managed to conquer both the visual and audio mediums so early in their partnership.
It is.
And then in 1940, they got their own program, the Abbott and Costello Show.
Yeah.
That must have felt like a real milestone.
Oh, absolutely. Initially, it served as Fred Allen's summer replacement, which is a testament to the network's belief in their ability to hold an audience. And later, they became part of the Chase and Sanborn Hour alongside Edgar Bergen and Charlie McCarthy, really further cementing their status as radio stars. It's interesting how radio allowed them to explore recurring characters and build a whole comedic world beyond just those routines.
And they even adapted their films for radio.
They did.
Like Hold That Ghost and Buck Privates in 1941.
Hey.
It seems like they understood the power of cross-promotion.
Exactly. Reaching audiences in different ways allowed fans who'd seen the movies to experience that humor in a new way, and likely drew radio listeners to the films as well.
Exactly.
Then when the Abbott and Costello Show returned as a weekly program in 1942, it really solidified their radio legacy. It had that classic variety show feel, blending their signature comedy with music, and a cast of really memorable, recurring characters.
Mr. Kitzel.
Right. Those names still ring a bell for many comedy fans.
They created a whole stable of funny personalities
Yeah.
around them. And they had some incredible guest stars, too. Cary Grant,
Yeah.
Frank Sinatra, the Andrews
The
sisters,
Andrews sisters.
even Lucille Ball.
Lucille Ball.
That speaks volumes about their popularity and the caliber of talent they were attracting for the show.
It was a real testament to their star power. The show became a destination for big names in entertainment. And behind the scenes, they had talented writers, musicians, sound effects artists, who all contributed to that show's overall comedic impact. And it's worth noting, even their move to ABC in 1947 included a children's radio program, the Abbott and Costello Children's Show, which ran until 1949, showing, their desire to really connect with audiences of all ages.
Absolutely. And from the radio waves, they then made an even bigger splash on the silver screen. Their film debut was in One Night in the Tropics in 1940. Even though it was a supporting role, they definitely made their presence known.
Oh, they absolutely did. They essentially stole every scene they were in, particularly with performances of Who's on First. And that small but impactful role led to a 2-picture deal with Universal Studios, which was the real launching pad for their film career.
And their second film, Buck Privates, in 1941, was their first starring role and a phenomenal success. It really propelled them into the realm of major movie stars.
It was a genuine cultural phenomenon. That film struck a chord with audiences, and suddenly Abbott and Costello were box office gold, and they didn't let up. They released 3 more successful films that same year, In the Navy, Hold That Ghost, and Keep 'Em Flying.
Wow.
It was an incredible burst of cinematic energy.
Talk about striking while the iron's hot. They quickly became one of the top box office draws in the country.
Right.
And they even crossed studio lines to make Rio Rita for MGM in 1942, which shows just how in demand they were.
Exactly. Studios recognized their immense popularity. And back at Universal, they continued to deliver hits like Pardon My Sarong and Who Done It.
Also in 1942, that year was truly a peak for them. A massive peak. In 1942, they were the #1 box office stars in the entire United States. That's an incredible achievement. And they were using their platform for good, too, weren't they?
They were.
I recall they were very involved in war bond sales.
Yes, they contributed significantly to the war effort, undertaking a 35-day tour in 1942 to promote war bond sales, which highlights their commitment beyond just entertaining audiences.
Right.
They were also contributing to the national spirit during a crucial time.
That's a wonderful aspect of their career.
Yeah.
They brought so much laughter during a period of global uncertainty, and their filmography is extensive, filled with so many memorable comedies. Lost in a Harem, The Naughty 90s, Abbott and Costello in Hollywood. They just kept delivering the laughs.
They were incredibly prolific and had a real knack for finding comedic premises that resonated with audiences. Their films often incorporated elements of slapstick, wordplay, and of course their signature character dynamics. And even though there were, personal challenges, and as happens in long partnerships, some friction developed, they always seemed to find their way back to that core comedic energy.
And it's interesting to hear about that rift that developed in 1945. It reminds you that even the most successful duos are made up of individuals with their own pressures, their own personalities.
Yeah.
But it's heartening that they resolved it and even channeled that into something positive with the creation of the Lou Costello Jr. Youth Foundation.
It speaks to their professionalism and their underlying bond. And that foundation became a really meaningful way for them to give back. And their reunion on screen with Buck Privates Come Home in 1947 showed their continued commitment to the partnership. And their new contract actually allowed them to explore projects outside of Universal, like The Noose Hangs High, which gave them more creative flexibility.
And then came the era of the horror comedy mashups, which really gave their career another shot in the arm.
Right.
Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein in 1948 was a smash hit. Who would have thought combining classic monsters with their comedic chaos would work so brilliantly?
It was a stroke of genius. It introduced them to a whole new generation of fans and proved their adaptability. And that film's success led to a fantastic series of Meet the Monster movies, really further solidifying their enduring appeal.
Those movies are still beloved today. They continued making films into the mid-1950s, even venturing into color with Jack and the Beanstalk in 1952. Their last film together, Dance With Me, Henry, was released in 1956, marking the end of their cinematic journey as a duo.
They had a remarkable run on the big screen, leaving behind a legacy of films that continue to bring laughter to audiences, but their impact wasn't solely confined to theaters.
Right.
They also embraced the burgeoning medium of television.
In 1951, they became rotating hosts of the Colgate Comedy Hour on
Wow.
NBC, which was a major platform at the time. And then from 1952 to 1954, they had their own filmed half-hour series, The Abbott and Costello Show, which has become a classic in its own right.
That show really captured the essence of their comedic dynamic, allowed them to revisit and refine some of their classic routines. For a new medium, it had a wonderful, almost vaudevillian charm.
Yeah.
And of course, we have to talk more about Who's On First.
It truly is their signature routine, and for good reason.
Right.
It's a masterpiece
Mm-hmm.
of comedic timing and wordplay. They started developing it way back in the mid-1930s, performing it in vaudeville, before its national radio debut in 1938. It's incredible that there are believed to be around 20 different versions of this routine, and they could adapt its length depending on the performance.
It shows their meticulousness and their deep understanding of comedic structure. It's a routine that has been analyzed and celebrated for its brilliance, and its iconic status is cemented by its permanent display at the Baseball Hall of Fame,
Really?
a plaque and a gold record.
Wow.
That's a testament to its unique place in both comedy and American culture.
That's incredible. It truly highlights that routine's timeless appeal, how it has transcended just being a comedy bit, to become a part of Americana. Now, behind all the laughter and success, they also faced personal challenges, didn't they?
Yes, like many people, their lives weren't without their difficulties. Both Abbott and Costello married performers that they met in burlesque and had families, but they also dealt with personal struggles, including compulsive gambling and significant health issues. Abbott had epilepsy, and Costello battled recurring rheumatic fever, which must have been incredibly difficult to manage alongside their demanding careers.
You can only imagine the toll those health issues took.
Right.
And as the landscape of entertainment changed in the 1950s, their popularity did begin to wane somewhat.
Yeah.
With the rise of new comedic talents. They also faced some serious financial difficulties with the IRS, which added another layer of complexity to their later years.
Yeah, it's a reminder that fame and fortune can be fleeting and don't always equate to smooth sailing in personal life. And they ultimately made the difficult decision to formally dissolve their partnership in 1957 after so many years working together.
That must have been a poignant moment. In his later years, Costello did try to forge a solo career, even appearing on The Steve Allen Show, and in one solo film. It's sad that he passed away relatively young in 1959, and Abbott also attempted to continue performing with a new partner. But it sounds like the magic of Abbott and Costello was truly in their unique pairing.
It did seem that way. Abbott did keep their legacy alive by voicing his character in an Abbott and Costello cartoon series in the 1960s, which is another interesting chapter in their story. He passed away in 1974. But their impact on comedy remains undeniable.
Absolutely. Their influence can even be seen in popular culture today. They were frequently referenced in Looney Tunes cartoons,
Right.
which is a fantastic indicator of their widespread appeal and recognition.
Yeah.
And their catchphrases and routines have become ingrained in our comedic vocabulary.
You know, it's even been said that Bugs Bunny's famous line, "Ain't I a stinker?" was inspired by Lou Costello.
Oh, wow. That just speaks to the reach of their comedic influence. And speaking of influence, you know, comedy legends like Jerry Seinfeld are well-known fans
Yeah.
who have consistently referenced and celebrated their work, which is a powerful testament to their enduring genius.
It really is.
Their impact on subsequent generations of comedians is undeniable. They've been honored in so many ways,
Right.
from a U.S. Postal Service stamp to having a student residential complex named after them.
That's wonderful.
It's wonderful to see their contributions continue to be recognized.
It is, and their work continues to be discovered and enjoyed by new audiences through films and television. Their induction into the New Jersey Hall of Fame in 2009 was a fitting tribute to their roots and the laughter they brought to so many. They truly left an indelible mark on the world of comedy.
They certainly did. From their humble beginnings in burlesque to their incredible success across radio, film, and television, Abbott and Costello created a legacy of laughter that continues to resonate. Their unique comedic dynamic and those timeless routines, especially the brilliant Who's On First, continue to entertain and influence generations.
Their legacy is secure. They brought joy to millions, and their work remains a testament to the power of classic comedy.
To explore more about the world's greatest celebrities, be sure to visit worldsgreatestcelebrities.com. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the world of Abbott and Costello on the World's Greatest Celebrities podcast.